Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a wonderful list that was suggested by you all. I love it when you make suggestions that I can actually do something about, which isn't all of them, but a lot of them. In this particular case, you said, why don't you do a list of the 10 coolest symphonic endings? And I said, because I did a thing with like terrible endings, and I did a thing with, I said, yeah, let's do it. It just sounds like fun. And it really was fun putting this together. But I didn't want to do just endings of the ending, that is finale endings. I also did endings of first movements sometimes where the ending was really great. In other words, it's just like an amazing ending wherever that ending occurs. And so that makes this, it vastly expands the opportunities, doesn't it, for coming up with fabulous endings. And so I know you're going to have yours because this is a free-for-all talk. You can suggest anything you want to be a marvelous ending, and we'll see what comes up in the mix. I'm very curious to see. So let's just go through it. And if you haven't heard them, just tune into the bit that I'm talking about. You don't even have to listen to the whole thing. Just play the ending. You'll be in great shape. All right. First, Beethoven. We have to do a Beethoven, right? The finale of Symphony No. 7. It's Beethoven's best ending. It really is. It's so exciting. It's the one where, Beethoven always creates this volcano of energy. And then there's the question of how do you stop the volcano? It's a real issue. It's a real question. Aesthetically, what do you do to stop that volcano? And in the 7th, he just gets it right. He just makes the most amazing climax at the end of the movement, and it ends perfunctorily. Perfect. Absolutely perfect ending. I can't imagine anybody doing anything better, and it's as exciting as hell. And he maintains that excitement till the very last note, which is terrific. Next, Vaughan Williams, Symphony No. 4. Oh, is that a great finale? It's just a tantrum. It's a big orchestral temper tantrum. And what's so wonderful about it is that, the whole finale is kind of nasty. It's it's kind of, nasty jolly. But then comes the fugato at the end, where all the tunes from the symphony and the motto themes for the symphony all get mixed up in this giant contrapuntal thing. And as it goes on, it just gets angrier and angrier, and it starts to fall apart. You see, it begins very strictly. But eventually it just says, oh, the hell with it. Nonsense. And finally, the opening bars of the whole symphony come back. The Godzilla stomping on Tokyo music. Da-dum, wa-dum, 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 o-do-do-do-ah, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Boom. Fabulous. Actually, that is the only bass drum note in the entire symphony. The last note of the whole symphony. Just thud. Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Exciting as hell. It's as good as the Beethoven in its way. It really is. Just marvelous. Next, a little jollier. Dvorak Symphony No. 8. The finale of that one. The cool thing about that is that in 1888, Dvorak successfully imitates someone putting their finger on a 33 RPM LP and making it go faster and faster and faster as the pitch rises. He does that. That is, if you play it right. You have to do the accelerando. You have to, they don't always do that in Czechoslovakia, but if you do it right, listen to Karajan's recording. It's dum ba 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 da 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 ba 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 ba. It's just an amazing thing, a phenomenal effect. It's just brilliant, and so I love Dvorak's 8th. And pardon the beep. There's something over there beeping. I don't care. I'm not going to worry about it. And then next. Oh, yeah, the first movement. Now we have our first movement, Sibelius Symphony No. 5. The most amazing example of a continual, gradual, accelerando to the final bar. Dum, bum, bum, bum. You know, it's getting faster. Bum, 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 ba, da, da. Then it's yum, bum, ba, bodum with the timpani. And the strings are going. The trumpets are yum, bum, 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 bum. And the key to playing it is that you got to hear the trumpets and the strings balancing equally. You have to hear the ostinato underneath that, like this, from the strings, until finally the strings take over. It's amazing. It's so breathtakingly exciting. And when it finally stops, you just want to go, whew. And then, of course, there's the ending of the finale, which is one of the most problematic things he ever wrote. You know, those big chords with the long pauses between them. I mean, it's a real issue as to whether or not that works. It can, but it's the ending of the first movement that's so fantastic. Next, here's our first finale, but it's a quiet ending. And one of the great quiet endings in the entire repertoire, Magnard's Fourth Symphony. Now, this symphony has a motto, and that motto goes, that's how the motto goes. That wasn't even bad. That was even kind of in tune. And the first movement ends with that, but it ends with a hollow harmony. And it's a unison or an open fifth or something. I don't know. You don't get the full major chord until the very last note of the symphony, when that exact same thing returns. And it is because you've been hearing it in various forms throughout the whole symphony, that final return with that last beautiful chord is one of the most heartwarming, satisfying, fulfilling moments in all of symphonic music. And I'm really not kidding. It is extraordinarily beautiful. And I mean, I just love that motto theme. You know, it's I could do that forever and drive you crazy. I don't know what that is. It's absolutely marvelous. And so if you don't know Magnard's Fourth Symphony, just listen to the last couple of minutes. And listen to the end of the first movement, too, because you can hear it both ways. I listen to the beginning, because you can hear it when it first appears. And listen to the slow movement, because you can hear it in the middle. Oh, it's just great. Absolutely great. Next, well, here's one. This is what's going to have no controversy at all. Bruckner, Symphony No. 8. Finale, the end, that coda to the finale. You know, Bruckner had problems with his finales. He usually had better codas to his first movements than he did his finales. For example, the first movement of the seventh has a better ending than the symphony does. The first movement of the sixth has a much better ending than the rest of the symphony does. Not so much the fifth, but the eighth, that is the coda, where he just builds up this enormous edifice, where he contrapuntally combines all the themes from all the movements. They all just, it's amazing. It's absolutely glorious. And it's like a separate movement all by itself. You know, the music stops. It's typically Bruckner, and he says, okay, time to do the coda. And then it starts. Oh, wow. That is hot stuff. It really is. It's like 4 minutes long. I mean, it's a big, long, totally separate, independent creature. And what a glorious peroration it is. It really is just one of the most amazing things you've ever heard. And then another first movement. Oh, I love this one. Walton Symphony No. 1. Just a vicious, violent massacre of a piece. And that ending, you know, dum bum 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 bum, like this with the tippy dum bum 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 bum. It's in B minor or something, B flat minor. I know it's in minor. Yum ba bum 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 boom boom bum 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 boom boom bum. Yeah. Whew. It's just hot. It's really hot. It has to be done with the necessary viciousness. It really has to be violent. You can't futz around with it. You can't have soft, mushy timpani, and you can't, you just have to play it for all it's worth. And the strings particularly, because they're doing the ostinato rhythm that goes through the movement, that yum, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. It's very hard for a string section to play that with the necessary meanness and nastiness and weight. So you've got to get a string section that's really in slash and burn mode. And boy, is it great. When it goes right, it's unbelievable. Doesn't always. Now another finale. Here's one you may not have expected, but it is extraordinary. Martinú's Third Symphony. The Third Symphony, it's an extraordinarily beautiful work. And the end has a multi-part coda. It has a very quick finale that sort of works its way up into a big climax and then peters out. And then you have a series of laments for bassoon with shivery answers from the rest of the orchestra, and then a very strange chorale for solo strings with the rest of the strings playing an ostinato. It's very, very beautiful. And as an accompaniment, you have this chromatic line in the flutes. They're going like that, and it's haunting in a way that nothing sounds like it, nothing else. And then after that, there's an attempt to become a little more militaristically triumphant with a rising motive, bum bum bum, well, it's bum bum. Much easier for me to whistle it for some reason. That's the thing, and with drum rhythms underneath, cha-cha-chomp with the drums, and it builds to a big climax that veers left off in some sort of dissonant fork in the road, and slowly settles down to what seems like it's going to be peace. There's a final sort of major chord, but underneath it, the piano, because there's always a piano in these symphonies, is just going bum, bum, and it just cuts it off. And what is it? Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it triumphant? Is it a defeat? It's fabulously ambivalent and completely final. When it's over, it's over. It's abrupt and emphatic an ending as anybody ever wrote. But it's not loud. It's not exactly soft. It's just what it is. It's a true miracle of coda writing. It really is extraordinary. So after Martinů, here's one that may surprise you. Haydn, Symphony No. 96, the first movement. Now, Haydn, in a sense, wrote the ultimate, amazing finale. It's the end of the farewell symphony, of course, because what could be more remarkable than a farewell than a symphony where everybody leaves? I mean, it's really pretty extraordinary, but I didn't pick that. I picked the finale of 96, the first movement of number 96, because classical ending formulas, cadence formulas as they're called in the business, tend to be rather formulaic. They consist of tonic and dominant chords, bum, 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 or yum, bum, 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 ba-dum, something like that, right? But Haydn doesn't do that. In this case, it's going da 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 dum ba 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 bum ba da dum bum bum ba da dum bum bum ba da dum bum ba da 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 da. All of a sudden, it's just this explosion in a minor key, and you feel it coming when the orchestra comes into the unison on that rhythm, da da dum bum bum, da da dum bum bum, da da dum bum bum, and then suddenly it turns around back as if nothing happened, da 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 dum bum 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 bum. It's one of the most remarkable endings anyone ever did. It's thrilling and it's exciting, and it allows Haydn, as Beethoven does at the end of the seventh, to dramatize the music up till the very last measure. You just don't know what's going to happen. You think we're coming to the ending, and then all of a sudden, pow! But yes, it really is the ending. It's just genius, phenomenal. So if you don't know number 96, which has a subtitle, The Miracle, because a chandelier crashed and didn't kill anybody, so it was a miracle that everyone survived, and it wasn't even that symphony that it was the miracle about. It was really like number 102 or something like that, but that's okay. Just listen to the end of that first movement. It's one of the great moments in the classical repertoire, and so not formulaic, which is just so typical of Haydn, because Haydn was never formulaic, if he could get away with it. And last but not least, for my remarkable endings, Mahler Symphony No. 4. It's a finale, but it's a quiet ending, and it's one of the most amazing endings ever. First of all, how many of us have actually sat back for a moment to reflect that this big, long, hour-long symphony ends with a song? I mean, just a nice strophic song with verses and refrains. That's what it is. It's just a song, a simple song. And, you know, I remember the first time I heard it, it was just, I was dazzled by just the audacity of the thing. And I don't think very many people give it credit for that anymore because it's become so familiar. But that is absolutely one of the most remarkable things about the whole finale. But then there's that ending that he's going to dare to write this hour-long symphony and end it quietly with a song, and end it quietly with a setting. The setting is one of the most poetic moments anyone ever conceived. Why? Because the music and the words are at such expressive tension. Because the last words that the soprano sings are Das alles für Freude erwacht, right? It's so that everything awakes to joy. But the music's doing just the opposite. It's a lullaby. It's going to sleep. So as she said, this word say, everything awakes, the music goes to sleep, because the whole point is that it's a child's vision of paradise. It's a dream. We're living in a dream world. That's what it's telling us. And so it's just very softly and gently lulls us to sleep. I mean, is there any other major symphony that just ends with 4 low notes on a harp? Bong, bong, bong. I mean, you almost never can't even hear them. They're so faint. It's such an incredible thing, and so brilliantly worked out, so that we don't even think about the fact that what the words are saying and what the music is doing are completely at odds with each other. But at the same time, paradoxically, they're absolutely right, because we accept that this is a dream. And so it's something that we can only imagine in sleep. We as adults can only dream about a child's vision of paradise while we're asleep. And that's what the music is telling us. And it's so poignant. Oh my God, it's just, it's so beautiful once you understand what it's doing. So that's my number 10, and that's my list of 10. And I really am curious to hear your list of 10, or however many. Well, stop at 10. And you don't have to do 10, but don't do more. Let's not make it ridiculous. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.